Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Professors and participants of the International Conference on the Integration of Knowledge in Higher Education 2022. Welcome to the second plenary session. My name is Muhammad Burhan Ibrahim, and I have been given the amanah to moderate this session, inshallah. This afternoon, we are indeed very grateful to have Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy, Zarkasyi as the speaker for the session. A very warm welcome and ahlan wa sahlan to Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy Zarkasyi. Before I pass the screen to Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy, kindly allow me to briefly introduce our speaker for the session. Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy Zarkasyi was born in Ponorogo. His father, Imam Zarkasyi, was one of the founders of Pondok Modern Darussalam Gontor. Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy obtained his Master of Philosophy from the University of Birmingham and Masters of Arts in Education from the University of the Punjab, Pakistan. And Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy is not a stranger to the IIUM community, because in 2006, he had obtained his doctorate from the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, ISTAC, under the supervision of country Professor Dr. Syed Muhammad Nakib Al-Atas. Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy is currently Director of Darussalam University Gontor, Indonesia. He is also the director of the Institute for the Study of Islamic Thought and Civilization, INSIS, Jakarta, Indonesia. Since 2012, he has been appointed as the chairman of the Council for Young Muslim Scholars of Indonesia, Jakarta. His areas of specialization are Islamic philosophy and Islamization of contemporary knowledge. Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy has written many books. Among them are Reflections on Islam, Externalization and Liberalizations, and Liberalization of Islamic Thought, Joint Movement of Missionaries, Orientalists, and Colonialists. In addition to that, Prof. Dr. Hamid Fahmy has published many articles and had presented papers in numerous local and international conferences. Prof, kindly be informed that you are given 45 minutes for the presentation, inshallah. And 15 minutes after your presentation will be allocated for the Q&A session. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Hamid Fahmy Zarkasyi to present his paper entitled Integration of Knowledge from the Lower to Higher Education, the Gontor Experience. Please, Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahilladzi hadana li hadza wa ma kunna linahtadiya laula an hadana Allah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'du. In this Sawal occasion, I would like to convey my prayer that we in Indonesia usually we say taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum minal aidin wal faizin, to all the participants in International Islamic University, especially in the Institute of Education. Second, I would like to convey my gratitude to the Institute of Education, International Islamic University, for giving me this precious opportunity to explain the long-standing experience of Gontor that I think it's quite familiar to the Malaysian, and the title that assigned to me is very great. I think there are more than the explanation of simply the integration of knowledge. So I will start from the meaning of integration in Gontor, that is not simply about integration of knowledge, but it is the integration of education system. So historically in Indonesia, we have what we call a pondok or traditional pondok system, where religious subject is taught without science, and employing the system of dormitory. And secondly, there are madrasah system, which consists of religious and science subject, but without dormitory system. The third one is the school system, where the student only study sciences without religious subject and without dormitory. Gontor applied and integrate these two systems of education that teach religious subject and natural and social sciences, and using the dormitory. So integrating traditional pondok with madrasah system. So this is the system that we employ at Gontor. And the foundation of the curriculum design in Gontor is this, as has been said by the founder, Imam Zarkasyi. He said that curriculum is the whole educational activities that include formal, informal, and non-formal education. So, in fact, we are not talking about simply about knowledge, the integration of knowledge, but the integration of formal and non-formal and informal education, meaning that the students are taught the subject in the class, but they are also inculcated the morality, and also the mentality, also the ethic of work outside the classroom. So this is the meaning of integration in our education system at Gontor. All aspects of campus life is designed for education, and the students are compulsory to live in the dormitory without any exception for 24 hours. the curriculum of formal education applied this also this principle of integration. Someday Imam Zarkasyi also said that at Gontor the curriculum consists of 100% religious subject and 100% on general sciences. This means that there is no dichotomy regarding religious and general sciences. So in fact the student learn religious subject and sciences or natural sciences at the same time or simultaneously at the same period. So the principle is this: historically in the traditional pondok, the student learn only classical book of Islam in the afternoon and learn general sciences at the school in the morning. So there's separate education. The integration for the secondary level mean in Gontor, I think we are with the session of contemporary knowledge. For example, the subject on Islamic, the world history from the Islamic perspective. The secondary school in most of Islamic school or in pondok system using still the book of the world history, which is compiled or written by non-Muslim or the Muslim who has no Islamic approach. So we are still waiting for this. The students are taught that learning general sciences is part of religion. In this sense, there is no dichotomy or separation of Islam and sciences. So the students still learn, for example, general sciences as the student learn at secular secondary school. But the important thing is this. In this situation, the important thing is the teachers. So at Gontor, we have this motto for the teachers: the method of teaching is more important than the subject. So whatever the subject written in the books, but the method, the way or the method the teacher convey or teach in the class is more important than the subject. Second, the teacher is more important than the methods. There are so many methods of teaching, but when the teacher is not the person who is good in speaking, or a teacher who is not capable of teaching in the classroom, of course, good method will be not fruitful. The third one, the spirit of teacher is more important than the teachers. So in Gontor, at Gontor, the teacher should be sincere. So the sincerity of the teacher is the most important thing in teaching learning process. So we believe this in this situation, in some kind of spiritual process where the teacher give the student the knowledge as well as belief or iman at the same time. So knowledge is not simply knowledge like in the sense of cognitive competencies, but knowledge here should be embedded with the iman. So the curriculum is not like the secondary school curriculum. The Islamic studies, some of the subject in Islamic study is theology, Quran, Hadith, science of Hadith, Islamic law, Islamic thought, legal philosophy, inheritance, Islamic worldview, comparative religion, Islamic history, and so many other things. I only mentioned some of this subject. In social science, the student also study psychology, civic education, world history, Indonesian history, Indonesian language, education, sociology, geography, and so many things. And the student also learn Arabic and English, and also natural sciences. They learn also mathematics, physics, biology, arithmetic, chemistry, and logic. So there's no difference between the student who learn Islam in Pondok in Gontor, for example, and with the student who learn or study at secondary school government secondary school where the religious science is not taught. This is the integration that we mean. The student learn Islamic studies and social science simultaneously. And of course, the students are also taught the morality. This is very strict control examination at Gontor. And for non-formal education, there are many activities. In the one side, it is compulsory, like the students should learn public speaking 3 times a week. So should be involved in squad movement. They have to in the mosque. They have to have a sport, jogging every Tuesday, and they have to abide campus discipline and language discipline. The student have to speak Arabic, English, or English in their daily life with strict discipline. The student also learn the leadership and so many management competencies in the organization. So the organization of this Pondo, this institution, is managed by the student themselves. There are also elective sports that the student can choose any one of this kind of sport, can be involved in the football club, volleyball club, basketball club, and so on. And they have also some kind of computer language courses, journalistic publication, or in calligraphy, for example, or they have the theater for drama and music and so on. All those non-academic activities are designed for improving the student mentality and competencies. Students are given all opportunity to manage their own life in campus. Students are involved in responsible in organizing the managing their own life in the campus. All activities provided are oriented for education. So this is what we call integration. And I want to use the term that used to be employed in Japan. Japan also have what they call holistic education. Japan holistic education. I believe that Gontor is also employing this kind of holistic education. The informal education system, where the student learn something unconsciously, like for example, we teach them sincerity, not in the classroom, but outside the classroom, where all the teachers are sincere and become the exemplary figure in Pondo. Also, the I think this is coined by the founder of Gontor. Sincerity. I mean, all the students, all the teachers are sincere in carrying out all the educational activities. Simplicity. There's no luxury. There is no air condition for the classroom, for example. No air condition in the room. Islamic Brotherhood, because the student came from so many islands from Indonesia, and don't teach them this kind of Islamic Brotherhood. So we teach them Islamic Brotherhood for perhaps to also very helpful for nationality brotherhood. And the fourth is self-reliance. The students should rely on their own self. I mean, all the activities are handled by the student. This is for the education. On the other hand, the institution, the Pondo itself, is the institution that does not rely on the support of other institutions. There's no support from the government, no support from the other organization. We have self-reliance. And thank God we don't have we don't need any sport to develop, but we can develop without the support of other. The last one is the freedom. In the tradition in Pondok is that Pondok is not the political entity. Pondok is not political organization and cannot be interfered by political activities. So we are free from any organization and free from any political interest. The other thing that we teach to the student is the way of life or the worldview. We used to say to all the students in many occasions that life should be very meaningful. You live once, therefore you live your life, live meaningfully. The best among you is the most meaningful for others. If you treat others well, you actually treat well yourself. That is taken from the Quran also. Sacrifice for the sake of God with your wealth, body, thought, and soul. And this is the maxim, or this is the mottos that the founder has been experienced this kind of this kind of belief during the time of communism, 1948 and 1965. The communist people want to kill all the founders, and of course God saved them. And but the founders are still believe that life and death is in the hand of God. So if they sacrifice for the education institution, and he meet the communists and they kill them, so for them it's no problem, because this is a kind of the sacrifice for the sake of God. So this kind of belief is inculcated to the mind of the student, that life should be consist of the sacrifice for the sake of God. There's so many mottos, so many worldview that inculcated to the student mind, achieve above their achievement, malu fawqa ma amilu, and so many things. Yeah, all those values are not taught in the class, but implemented in all activities by all members of Pondok society. Teachers and student teachers relationship are based on those values. So the teacher do not know that some student have not paid some tuition fee, for example. So there's no such kind of materialistic view. The student from the rich family can stay, for example, in the very luxurious room. This is not the way we educate the student. So what is the ideal product that want to be achieved by Gontor system? First is high morality, the person who has high morality, al-akhlaqul karima. And the second is the person who has a sound body. And the third, the person who has broad knowledge. And the last one is the person who has independent mind. Independent mind in the sense is creativity. In the science, in the field of science, it is called creativity. But in the sense of religious thought, especially in the field of ijtihad, independent mind means ijtihad. So the student are encouraged to have a broad knowledge, and to encourage to have some kind of the best capacity or capability of having ijtihad. So if we refer to the required competencies of World Economic Forum 2016, where there is so many competencies required in the working place, there is creativity, people management, coordinating with other, judgment, decision-making, leadership, initiative, communicating with other, curiosity, scientific literacy, financial literacy. With reference to all these competencies, I believe the student can have this kind of competencies during their life and their study at this Pondok, because They learn religious and science subject. When they learn religious subject, they learn morality. When they learn religious subject, they know something good or bad. When they are involved in student organization, they are, of course, having some kind of the process of judgment and decision making, coordinating with other people, management, creativity. You see that in this secondary school, the student of class 6, or for example, compared to our secular secondary school, it is class 3 for higher education, higher secondary level. The student in this pondok must be the chairman of the student organization that having more than 20 department or section. And this secondary student should be responsible for organizing for 1,000 or 5,000 students in the campus. So I think this is very good experience or very good training for the student. And of course, from this training, the student who live in dormitory organize their dormitory. The student who live in dormitory and have this kind of, for example, football club. This kind of organization consists of leadership also. When the students are involved in the sport movement, they have the creativity. When the students have discussion or public speaking club, they are involving in the training of critical thinking, problem solving, and so many things. So I believe that this competencies required by the working place with reference to the World Economic Forum 2016 can be achieved by the students who have this kind of activities. One of the Australian researcher in 1965 visited Gontor and wrote a article entitled Note on Gontor. He wrote this: Gontor differs from old style pesantren in that it is more systematic and disciplined. It devoted considerable time to secular learning and has more comfortable urban atmosphere that is sometimes very distantly reminiscent of an Australian public and private school. This is the impression. If you want to know about detail of this Gontor, one of the graduate of Gontor, his name is Anwar Fuadi, has written the novel entitled Negeri Lima Menara. I think the Indonesian people are very familiar with this novel, and this novel has been published in the form of the film. And interestingly, this book has been translated into English, become The Land of Five Towers. It is recommended book at the Department of Literature, University of Chicago, Harvard University. So the secondary level of Gontor system integrate formal, non-formal, and informal education, where knowledge, mentality, morality are inculcated simultaneously. Now, at the university, Darussalam Gontor, the university now is become university in 2014 actually, but the starting point is from 1963 in the form of institute. At the undergraduate level, the University of Darussalam offer 20 departments of science and technology, humanities, as well as social Islamic studies. At the postgraduate level, University of Darussalam offers 3 departments for master degree: Islamic theology and philosophy, Islamic economic, Arabic language teaching, and 1 department for PhD degree, Islamic theology and philosophy. We give the priority for developing Islamic study for a PhD degree because we believe that this program will help very much to carry out the process of Islamization or integration. So we will explain this. The curriculum for this integration is designed based on the three important elements of science, namely worldview, paradigm, and theories. I think when we talk about Thomas Kuhn, we remember about this scientific paradigm. But Thomas Kuhn is criticized by Karl Popper. It is very difficult to create new theory by always changing the paradigm. Later, Imre Lakatos, one of the scientists also in the West, developed one more element in science, but he doesn't call worldview. He called hardcore protective belt and theories. But with reference to our experience, we don't use the word hardcore, but we use the word view. But I think the same thing. So these three kind of scientific element is applied in our university. All the students at the Department of Science and Technology and Humanities should learn Islamic worldview at early semester. Islamic worldview is very important. In the following semester, the students start learning paradigm and theories of Islamic and Western science related to their respective department. This is the picture of yeah. See, the worldview in the theory of Imre Lakatos, which he called it hardcore, is something permanent and no integration. We cannot integrate the worldview of Islam with the worldview of the West. Worldview is transformed, or the worldview should be changed. But the paradigm, we can borrow the paradigm from the West because paradigm is changeable. And of course, there are paradigms that can be adapted for Islamic sciences, but other paradigm can be omitted or it can be abolished. So paradigm is semi-permanent. And then the third one is the theory, methodology, or discipline. This is also changeable and it can be integrated with the Islamic theories. So science is subject to validation. Even Islamic science is subject to validation. But very interestingly, in the idea of Imre Lakatos, that when we develop this concept, theories, and discipline of knowledge, the point that have to be examined when we validate some kind of theory or concept, it should be related to the worldview. So we believe that in Islamic perspective, the worldview is not changeable. The worldview of Islam is permanent, and therefore paradigm, theories, concept, methodology in Islamic perspective should be based on something permanent. So in Islam, we believe that theology is the basis of epistemology. So we start our knowledge from belief. It's very different from the West that start from assumption. So worldview is actually the basic belief. The Western people also have this kind of basic belief, but because the belief in this sense is not belief in relation to God. So belief here is belief to something that they perceive from the situation, social situation. So we have very different nature of Islamic science. So in the curriculum, we ask the student compulsorily to take all the students in all departments should take this worldview of Islam with special emphasis on the concept of God, man, universe. Worldview related to the Quran, something permanent. The worldview related to the Islamic law, which is something what we call it muhkamat. The worldview of Islam in relation to hadith, Islamic science and natural human sciences, Islam and sciences. So This is the worldview. The paradigm that we inculcate, we teach to the student is this. It's related to the department. For the Department of International Relations, for example, the student should compulsorily take the subject history of Islamic political thoughts, history of, for the student of communication science, history of communication science in Islam. For the pharmacy, nutrition, health, safety, also have to take history of medical science, Islam, and so on. On the objective of this teaching the paradigm in most courses are more about Islamic scientific paradigm in the past. Why we refer to the past? Because we have still no ready paradigm in many disciplines of knowledge at the present time, except, for example, in the in the discipline of Islamic economic, because Islamic economic is more advanced than other discipline of knowledge. Some discipline like Islamic psychology now start developing the theory and the paradigm, but still cannot establish as the department or the faculties. Yeah. What is the point here actually when we teach the student the paradigm is that to teach the student that Islam is religion and civilization, and that civilization has the emphasis on knowledge. So scientific civilization, or we may call it this, is the heritage of Islam that we should develop in nowadays. The theories, the student should learn about Islamic epistemology, and then the theory of international relation in Islam, communication science in Islam, agrotechnology in Islam, nutrition in Islam. I would like to underline this subject. This subject is under the process of development. We develop this, but we try to present the student this theory of international relation in Islam and communication in Islam, but in partial nature. For example, in international relations, there are so many theories that we cannot Islamize in very general way. For example, war in Islam and war in the international relation is very different. In the perspective of Islamic ethic is very different. So we try to teach the student one by one how to differ between Islamic concept and the concept of international relation in the general sense. Also in agrotechnology, the student learn agrotechnology in general sense, but at the same time, we try to teach the student what is the way Islam approach agrotechnology. Also in pharmacy, and this is all the department. So in the 7th semester, the student have to learn introductory discourse on Islamization of contemporary knowledge for all department. So the student are taught different theory and concept in their respective department, and at the same time they are taught different theories and concept from Muslim scholar in the past. But if it is available also from the Muslim scholar in the present. While teaching the student theories, they are also taught to integrate Islamic theories with the Western world. In this way, we are trying here in University of Dar es Salaam for the integration, the student of Department of Comparative Law, for example, may carry out research and write thesis in collaboration with the student of other department. For example, the student of Department of Comparative Law of Islam, Comparative Law of Islam, can collaborate with the student who learn learn international relation and write a thesis or a research that concentrate on discussing about the concept of war in Islam. Or the student for Sharia, for example, can collaborate with student of Islamic economic, writing about the theory of justice in business, for example. So integration in this sense is not something that we have finished and ready for the teaching, but the learning teaching process is ongoing process of integration of knowledge. In the postgraduate program, here we have Islamic theology and philosophy. We have also Arabic language teaching. We have mentioned in the beginning, the Islamic economic. Now, for postgraduate master degree curriculum, this is only for example. We emphasize in Islamic theology and philosophy and Sufism, we emphasize to create, to discuss, and to develop Islamic epistemology and compare with the Western epistemology. So we are in ongoing process of creating the powerful Islamic epistemology where we can use for different discipline of knowledge for the undergraduate level. So still we have three kind of scientific element. We teach the worldview, Quran and Hadith studies, with emphasis on knowledge. Also Islamic theology, Islamic thoughts, Islamic worldview as paradigm. And also teaching logic and Sufism. In the paradigm, we teach the student how to understand Islamic philosophy from the perspective of from the paradigm of Islam or from the framework of Islam. From here, we can develop, for example, theories of metaphysics, theories of physics based on Islamic philosophy. And then the theory of Islamization of contemporary knowledge is very important because the discourse already there. We are also in collaboration with IIIT and International Islamic University on this issue. And then we develop into teaching the student Islamization of social science, Islamization of science and technology. This is for master degree. The elective subject, we teach the student according to their interest of their thesis, Islam and philosophy of politics, Islam and philosophy of economic, Islam and philosophy of education, Islam and philosophy of law. And of course, we teach them the methodology on theology and philosophy, and they have to write a paper on Islamization. So this is a kind of integration, kind of effort on Islamization or integration. So for the master degree student who wrote this paper on Islamization should present the paper in front of the undergraduate student in different departments. It depends on the choice of the topic. When the student, for example, write a paper on the Islamization of communication, of course, they have to present the paper in the Department of Communication. If they wrote, for example, some point of theory in economic, or for example, Islamization of for example, on banking system, they have to present in Faculty of Economics. And then they have to write in the journal, because in Indonesia we have, I think like in Malaysia also, we have the obligation to publish our papers, the paper of the student in the journal, accredited journal. So I think the principle of output-based education is very common in all over the world. So the students are not only taught those subjects, but they are to write article after the class, after the semester, the end of the semester, and the article should be published in the journal. Finally, the master students should write the thesis, and they are encouraged to write the thesis on the topic of integration of Islamic and contemporary knowledge. This is the effort that we have done in our university. And the dissemination of theory and practice for Islamization. For the master, the students are given assignment to write paper on Islamization, and then certain concept from any discipline of knowledge. The paper should be presented to undergraduate students for all departments. Now, the PhD student, we still have this the Department of Theology and Philosophy. The worldview that we teach to the student is Islamic metaphysics and contemporary kalam. This is actually inculcating the basic concept of Islam from the metaphysical viewpoint or from theological viewpoint. The paradigm that we teach to the student is about, again, about Islamic epistemology, but more advanced than the student of undergraduate level. Then the theory of Islamization of contemporary knowledge. This is more advanced than the master degree. And then the third one is the practice on Islamization of contemporary knowledge. I will explain this later. And then the elective one is the issues on Islamic philosophical thought. This is elective. Yeah. The students who are interested to discuss or to write about issue on Islamic justice, for example, or the idea of reality and knowledge, for example, they can take this subject. Or reading text on theology and Islamic philosophy is very important also. Islam and political philosophy, Islam and philosophy of language. So this is the way that I mentioned in the paradigm. The PhD students are given assignment to work on the project of Islamic certain theory or concept in different faculties or department at undergraduate level. So I'm teaching this subject. I ask the student to go to the department according to their interest and discuss with the lecturer there about something that they regard it as secular or as un-Islamic. And then they have to discuss and to find the solution. What is the alternative way to Islamize the theory? Then the student, the teacher, the lecturer at the department collaborate with the PhD student at the Department of Theology and Philosophy to write a paper on the topic they have discussed. The result of that paper should be part of the lecture in that department in the future. So we try to accumulate this kind of theories in our postgraduate or PhD program and disseminate to the department or faculties and undergraduate level. So there are collaboration between postgraduate level and undergraduate level, especially in creating the theories or in Islamizing the theories of secular knowledge. So PhD students are encouraged to write the dissertation after writing the papers. They are encouraged to write the dissertation that come up with the new concept as a result of the integration of Islamization. We recently examined the PhD student who wrote about the Islamic theory of environment with reference to the theory of Badi'uzzaman Nursi. I think he came up with the new theory of environment, where theology is the basis for developing the environmental sciences. I think we have done something good in this department. Well, so in summary, I would like to remind that the undergraduate level, we introduce to the student the key concept of the worldview of Islam. We also teach them the epistemology, I mean, the theory of knowledge in Islam. And we teach them as paradigm, epistemology as a paradigm. We teach them also the theories, especially, of course, the theory of Western discipline of knowledge, like economic, like science and technology, like pharmacy, nutrition. Of course, this is mostly Western theories. but we also teach them the alternative of Islamic theories. In the postgraduate level, we teach them the theory of Islamic worldview. This is very important. The theory is not in the undergraduate level. We teach the student the worldview of Islam that consists of some kind of basic or key concept in Islam. But in the postgraduate level, we teach the student the theory of Islamic worldview, how the worldview emerge, and how the worldview can be a paradigm. How can the worldview be transformed from un-Islamic into Islamic? So the theory of worldview is very important for the student in this university. And then on the basis of that worldview, we are talking about the theory of Islamization of contemporary knowledge. Without worldview, I think we cannot talk about the theory of Islamization. I have read all the definition of Islamization of contemporary knowledge. Almost all of them refer to what they call Islamic worldview, Islamic vision, Islamic values, so many names. But I think the same thing that we have to, when we talk about Islamization of contemporary knowledge, we have to refer to the basis of that knowledge, and that is the worldview. And I believe that the worldview in Islam consists of knowledge, a belief, and action. I think I refer to what this has been defined by Ninian Smart, that the worldview is the thought, belief, and action. So the theory of Islamization of contemporary knowledge refer to the worldview of Islam. And then integration of Western and Islamic theories or concept is the practical action for the Islamization of contemporary knowledge. Finally, this postgraduate, I refer again this producing the theory of Islamization, practicing the theory of Islamization by producing new Islamized theory and concept, and disseminating the theory and concept in the faculties and department. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, Prof. So thank you very much for a very enlightening presentation. So a lot of things that you have shared pertaining to what you do at your university. Alhamdulillah. So now I would like to open our session to Q&A. We have about 8 minutes before the session ends. So if there is any questions from the participants, kindly, if you have any questions. Any questions at all? Let me check the chat box. There's no question. Okay, I have a question, Prof.
Yes.
When I look at the subjects that you have listed, I'm sure you have to have a good team of lecturers, academic instructors, to facilitate, the delivery of those subjects that you have mentioned. Now, how do you get these lecturers? Where do you get them? Do you train them after they have joined your university, or you go and search for the right person all over Indonesia? Thank you.
Yeah. First, I forget to mention that the university have also Directorate of Islamization.
Okay. And
the Directorate is very responsible in training all the teachers who teach the subject. One. And the second one, the department also have to provide the material for teaching all the subject. So we are also in ongoing process. We have weekly training for the lecturer on every Saturday. All the lecturers are gathered and teach them some kind of theory or some kind of cases on Islamization of contemporary knowledge. So, of course, we are not yet complete, of course. We still in ongoing process, and of course, there are some lecturer who is not familiar with Islamization, is some kind of hindrance for us. So we still get train them, and of course, the number of the students who graduated from the PhD in our university are responsible for training all these teachers, because not all lecturers are graduated from our university. We are graduated from other university, and some of them are not quite familiar with Islam. Yes. So this is the problem. So we teach them from the very beginning about the meaning of Islam as a worldview, Islamic epistemology, and let them know that the knowledge, the theory, the discipline that you have is some kind of secular knowledge. So we still have this kind of problem.
So it's a continuous effort, Prof. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
It's a continuous effort, and to ensure that the new staff that comes in are well equipped with the right skills and knowledge. Thank you very much, Prof. So any questions from the floor? Anyone? Please, if you have any. Okay, so there is no questions. So on behalf of the organizing committee, Prof, yes, I would like to thank you for your willingness to share your thoughts, to share your knowledge with us, to share your experience, the practices at your university. May Allah bless you and your lecturers, inshallah. So again, thank you very much. So yes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you very much again.
Yes. Yes, you are most welcome to see and stay in our university.
Oh yes, yes, indeed. Yes, we will plan one day, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Assalamualaikum.
Welcome,
yes.
Prof.
Okay, we have Prof. Okay, Prof. Siraj, please.
Yes, Prof. Hamid, very nice to see you. Assalamu alaikum. It's a long time.
Salam. Yeah, we are waiting for you, Dr. Arif, Siraj.
Inshallah.
Yeah. We will send you the invitation, inshallah, in the future.
Inshallah. Barakallah fiqh.
Barakallah.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikum salam.
So I now pass